everyone, and welcome to NameHero.com. Today I want to demonstrate how to configure the settings inside of your WordPress admin area. If you're new to WordPress, this is the area of where you go define particular things such as how your URLs will be structured and as well as how your site looks and kind of the feel of it. Now, if you've installed it using our tutorials and especially our how to create a blog tutorial, then it's likely you don't have to worry about modifying any of this, but I still wanted to present a video to show you how you would do so and also just how to change your site up a little bit, because maybe you don't have the need right now, but maybe in 6 months or a year from now that you will. So I want to definitely demonstrate it. So the first thing you want to do is log into your WordPress admin. So for example, my blog here is HalloweenCostumeBlog.com, and I've installed it in /1, and so it's going to be /wp-admin. So it's always going to be wp-admin after wherever you installed it. If you ever have any questions on where your WP admin is located, feel free to submit us a ticket. We'd love to help you find it. Okay, so once I do navigate to my admin area and I log in, I'm going to want to go over here to the settings button, and I can just click that. Okay, so there's a couple tabs here that we can go through. And again, if you installed using our tutorial, then it's likely you've already entered your site title and tagline, but you can always change it. So right here you can see it just says your website. So we could change our title to anything we want it to be. If you look over here in this panel here, you can see your website shows up at the top here. So if you want it to be something different, like my cool car website or maybe the name of your blog, then you would put it in here. And then also the tagline, this is like the description. So at NameHero, our tagline would be making web hosting great again. So we would put like NameHero, make web hosting great again in our tagline. So whatever you want to have, but that's where you would enter it. Next is your WordPress URL, and this is where WordPress is installed. So this lets your system know where everything resides and how to move back and forth between your admin area. So you can leave this default. There's no need to change it. But if you install a secure certificate at NameHero, these are free and automatic. You might want to add an S. Same for your site URL. If you want all your WordPress pages to be secure and use that secure certificate, you would enter the HTTPS. And that's where you would do it. Now, notice if you want your homepage to be in a different directory, then there's a tutorial here you can click on and follow. I don't recommend doing it. I recommend just keeping everything as it is, because it can get quite confusing if you start moving it around. And so that's really an advanced option there. So I don't recommend doing that, but if you have to, you do have that option in there. So just kind of take that with a grain of salt, though. If you don't know what you're doing, then don't mess with that. Okay, so let's keep moving here. Email address, this is going to be your admin email address and where you're going to get important notifications. So you want to make sure this is valid. So if you've just signed up and during my setup tutorial, this is the email address I use. So if you use a valid one at that time, then you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to change it later, then you can as well. So we can keep scrolling down here. You can see membership, anyone can register. This allows people to register for an account at your site. I don't recommend just letting anyone register because you'll get a lot of spam that way. So just keep that not selected, just the default. And then you can see those that do register, what is their role? And obviously you would want to keep that a subscriber. You would never want to put that to administrator for a new user, but just leave that default if you don't know what exactly that's for. Time zone, you can customize this to wherever you are in the world, so your blog will reflect the current time, and you can see this just set to the UTC, just standard time, and you can see how it displays here. The date format, this is important. Maybe you want your date to show a certain way. This is the previous. This is the default, but you could customize it, or you can use any of these. You can do the time format. Some people like to use a capital PM, some like to use a lowercase, some like 24-hour time, and of course you can customize it as well. There's also some nice documentation if you want to format it to be even separate. Weekday starts on, I like Monday, some people like Sunday, but you can choose it on here. And then of course your site language, that's important for those that don't speak English and want to use something different. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on the side here, this is the general tab. So these are just the general settings for your site. And like I said, if you've followed my tutorials, then you're probably not going to have to edit these, at least not right now. The only reason I could see is maybe you want to have that secure certificate on your admin URL, and you would just add it here. But other than that, you probably won't have too much need to edit this stuff. Okay, so let's go to writing. Okay, this talks a little bit about where your posts will default to and what categories. So uncategorized right now, because it's a new installation, I don't have any categories created. So as you create categories, maybe you have a default category for your posts that you don't assign. You could put that here. The default post format. So this is what type of posts that you typically post on your blog. Standard is fine. That's what I recommend if you're not sure. Some of you running video-based sites might want to select a video here, and that just alters the design, the template a little bit. But again, if you don't know what it is, just leave it standard. Okay, post via email. This allows you to write posts and to send them in via email, and it'll actually turn it into a post. Don't see this used a whole lot, but some people do like it. I know that those that have access to their email, maybe they just have access to their email, and maybe this is on an airplane or another means of transportation. They like to actually email themselves the post, and you can actually have WordPress post that. So it will actually take an email and format it for you into a post. So you can enter all this information here. If you're hosting with us at NameHero, you go into cPanel, click email accounts, and you'll get all these ports and the information here. Let's leave it untouched if you don't know what it is. Update services, you can just leave the ping-o-matic there. That's just very standard and default. If you don't know what it is, just leave it. Okay, let's go to reading. Just take a second while it brings it up here. Okay, so this, you might find this important to configure. This is what the front page displays. So when I go to my blog here, you can see it's showing the post, hello world, and this is the first post of the blog, just the default one that WordPress created for me. Some people like it to show a static page. So instead of showing the latest post, they actually like to go over here and create a page, and they want their front page to show a custom page. So you could click here and select that. Now you can see we only have a sample page here. So let's watch what happens if I change this. If I change this to sample page and click save, when I go back to my example blog and I go back to home, you can see it's not changing yet. Oops. As you can see, it goes now to a sample page. You don't see the posts now. So it's just, there's no posts there. It's just that sample page. People find this beneficial if they don't want to, if their WordPress site's not going to be a full-on blog. Maybe it's going to be a complete site for their business or for their cause or whatnot. So they like to use that. So you might find that very useful. I'm going to switch it back to posts just to keep it simple, but that's something you might find yourself changing. This can change the number of posts that show on that page, and of course your feed, your RSS feed. And this might not be important to you, but you can just type in FEED at the end of your WordPress blog, and you can see that's your RSS feed. And that might be important to you, maybe it's not, but that's how many items would be in it. Would be 10. Okay, the feed here will show full text. If you want it to be a summary, then you could just change it, meaning that the full text will show the entire blog post into your feed. So people usually use feeds in their feed readers. It's not as popular nowadays as it used to be 5-6 years ago, but nonetheless, some people still find a need for it. Okay, search engine visibility. If you want to block Google and Bing and other search engines from crawling and indexing your site, click here, and this will tell them to not index the site. Now, as it says here, it's up to the search engines to honor it. It's not 100%. So, and we see this if you're developing. This is a new site and you're just wanting to develop it, and you don't want the search engine to pick it up because it's a development site, you would click that. Okay, so let's continue on and go to the discussion. This is the comment system that comes in WordPress, and you can see that there's several different options in here to showing how the comments will show. So attempt to notify any blogs linked to from the article. So if you linked any blogs inside your posts, it will notify them so they know, hey, someone's linking to me, and maybe they'll link back to you. So that's a cool thing. I like to leave that enabled. Allow link notifications from other blogs. So if another blog decides that they want to link to you, this will notify you and say, hey, there's another blog linking to you. I like to keep that on too, so I know who's linking to my content. Allow people to post comments on new articles. Now, if you like to have comments, which I do, then allow that. You just have to watch. You start getting a lot of spam, then maybe you want to disable it, or maybe you want to get a little bit better spam plugin. But that's by default, it is on. And you can see that you can override this connection on individual articles. So when you make a post, if you don't want people to comment on a post, maybe you're doing an announcement or something, you don't care if people comment, you don't care to have people comment, you can select that on that individual post. Okay, these are other comment settings. The comment author must fill out their name and email. That's pretty standard. Sometimes people want the users to be registered. That's not default, so it's unchecked. Automatically close comments on articles older than 14 days. So this will close the discussion. It's off by default. Enable nested comments. This keeps nested means that when someone comments and someone comments below them, that it'll organize it all nice and neat. So you can keep track of the comments. I do recommend keeping that on. Okay, and you can break comments into pages. So if you have an article that gets lots of comments, you might need to paginate it so you don't have such a long post. Okay, email me whenever someone posts or comments held for moderation. Those are important settings. I like to keep those on just so when someone comments, you don't miss it. You know immediately, and you can go respond if it's negative or positive, either way. I always like to know. Before a comment appears, I like to check this. I like to make sure that every comment has to be manually approved, because if they're a spammer, if they're a hater, if they're a troll, I don't like it just to show up on my blog, because maybe it's 5 or 6 hours before I can get to it. So that's important. Okay, comment author must have a previously approved comment. That's also maybe important too, to make sure that, hey, you know that they're a real person, so they're good to comment in the future. And that kind of saves the moderation. Now there's some other stuff that you can add. So for example, in here, hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links. So a common characteristic of comment spam is a large number of links. When a comment contains any of these words in its content, name, email, URL, or IP, it'll be held in moderation. So you can enter words here. If, you can enter curse words. You can enter stuff like press or WordPress, comments or words that would be used in spam. You can also blacklist stuff. So same thing. If a word appears in any of the comments, maybe it's a bad word, then it'll automatically blacklist that comment. Okay, so by default, it's going to show the avatars, and that's what people have created for their account. I like to leave that on. Maximum rating, this is the rating of your site. Most people are probably going to fall under G. If you're at NameHero, you're certainly not going to have an X-rated site, because we don't allow X-rated content at NameHero. But that's pretty good to rate your site, and so the search engines know. The default avatar, I like the mystery person. Some people like the gravatar, but you can use whatever. And this is for people that just don't have a gravatar set up. It can use whatever here. Okay, so let's continue on to media. Okay, this stuff is pretty standard. This is a standard thumbnail that gets generated. And you can see that when you upload an image to your image library, it does 3 different sizes: a thumbnail, a medium, and a large. So you can alter those settings here. If you don't know what they are, then just leave it. Then, of course, I like to organize them into a month and year folder so you keep track of your files, because these can be quite large. So just leave that default. But I would leave all of this default unless you're a designer or you know what you're doing there. Okay, permalinks, this is probably the section out of all these settings that you'll use the most. So you can see the basic structure for a post follows this. It's got the month, the year, the month and date, and then the name of the post. I like just the post name. So I normally will come in here and click this on every time I install WordPress. But you can customize it however you wish. Look, you can go down here and click custom structure, and you could do whatever here. But it's important that you save when you finish. And you have to make sure that your htaccess file is writable. If you installed using my tutorial that I've posted on NameHero, then you'll be fine. But if it's not, you might have to change those permissions. And you can always open a support ticket, and our team can do that for you. But that's probably one of the most important things, because a lot of people don't want the plain old just numbers, because that's not very good for the search engines. Most people like to have the post name and their URL, so it ranks higher in the search engines. You can also have like a category base and a tag base if you want. If not, it will just use the default. Okay, then you have your section here for your comment. And this is a Kismet. I always say it wrong. But this is where you would get your API key for that. Pretty much it protects your blog from comment spam. So you click get your API key, fill out your name and email address, and they would give that to you. That is important to do so you can stay away from comment spam, because trust me, if you have comments on, you're going to get comment spam. So this helps you fight that and only get legitimate comments on your blog. But that's the WordPress settings. There's not too much else to that, but those are all the ones that you'll need. And again, if you follow my tutorial, you're probably not going to have to change any of them. But it is important because especially the permalinks, people like to change that. And again, if you're using the SSL certificate, you're going to want to change that in general. So it's important to at least know where everything is so you can switch it up to fit your exact needs. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let us know. Comment on the video, and I would be more than happy to reply to your comment or submit a ticket through our help desk or hit us up in the live chat and we'll help you out. But thanks a bunch everyone for watching. Enjoy your WordPress hosting at NameHero.com.